The Demon King himself, that is a bane to human existence and has burnt down countless villages in his wake, managed to find a small child. And this small child turned out to be one of the most vicious or malicious entities that you could ever ask for. She draws a picture of the village burning. Her daddy burning the village to the ground. Nothing prepared this almighty Demon King for parenthood itself. It is legitimately an incredible series that I happened to discover and I want to share with all of you. And I have some really good news as well to share with you when it comes to this series. So to start off, the title, Raising Hell, A Demon's Guide to Parenting. Very fitting title, especially with what I've read so far, but this series has a lot of good news. So what it did was, it started off as a canvas series, and it has now turned into a full-fledged webtoon series, and to see the small beginnings from the author themselves, like this is a note from the author in the early chapters of the canvas story, to where they're at currently now, getting their actual series, published and becoming an official webcomic. It makes me very happy, man. I love seeing stuff like this. From starting from humble beginnings to becoming very successful. It is honestly always amazing to see. Now, one thing I do want to point out is because obviously this is new in comparison to the actual canvas series, which I'm showing here. I guess let's give a rundown. So basically, a canvas is more or less a template. It's a series where the author does whatever they want. They can just release it how they want, etc. But now that the series has gotten a lot of recognition, it's gotten very popular, it has now become a full-fledged release, a new webcomic, so to speak. So it's like rewriting the story from the very beginning, which is what this is. And we get to see new artwork, and oh my goodness, the comparisons of this from the early chapters of the canvas release is insane. You could tell that the author slash artist really improved upon their work over time, and that it's just, I love seeing stuff like that. I love just seeing the incredible nature of artwork just improving over the years and months of working on something. It is always a special treat, especially when you look at the first work or the first chapter to the latest stuff, aka this content right here. It is incredible. But let's get into the main point. What is Raising Hell actually about? Well, as I've already emphasized, it is about a Demon King literally happening upon a child, a baby. A baby that, in all intents and purposes, probably would not have survived if it wasn't for this random chance of this Demon King happening upon her. But he managed to find her, and at first he might have done something to her, he might even gotten rid of her. But thanks to her very cute nature and the ability to showcase that she has magic, it won him over. It won him over to where he decided to raise her from this point onward. And it was kind of like the domestication of the Demon King himself. It's a very nice beginning because it really does show that this man here is not necessarily a goody-goody two-shoes, and the child is not going to be a goody-goody two-shoes as well. Because literally in the beginning of the first chapter, you see this village being burnt down. She's watching her daddy, the Demon King himself, burning a village down. You see people running for their lives. They literally like, hey, get out of here, kid, you need to run. And then they're like, wondering where her parents are. And as it, continues on, she basically is like, oh yeah, that scary man up there, he's my father. And they're like, wait, what? Like that, they're legitimately shocked. By the way, gotta talk about this real quick. I really love the shading here. I don't know what it is, but the art style here, I feel, I don't know, but it heavily reminds me of some of the artwork within Attack on Titan. I wonder if the author slash artist was slightly inspired by the work of Attack on Titan, because like the way the facial expression is shown here, it gives that vibe of just uncanniness, of just absolute fright, and it's like, what is this child actually saying? And it's really interesting because it's like you have a human child acting like more of a demon than literally the demon lord himself. Now, let's segue into some of the things that, I am looking forward to. So the first few chapters of Raising Hell is out right now, but there is some things that have yet to be covered even with the chapters that are currently released. Now, this is in the canvas, aka the original original work before it got turned into a full-fledged webcomic that, I'm currently covering, but basically it is more or less retreading some of the early stuff while actually expanding upon it and changing it and making it more fleshed out. It feels like there's a lot more content there than the beginning actually was, because the beginning part of Raising Hell, at least when it came to the canvas, it basically kind of showcase the life, the upbringing of the child very quickly, while you have this story at least taking place so far with these chapters that, I'm showing here. It's actually showing the origin of how he happened upon the child and, what he's going to do going forward. I like it. It feels a lot more slower paced. It feels properly paced out, where it's like you have some breathing room to get adjusted to the Demon King himself before you get actually adjusted to the main female character, the child. I think that is what makes this really stand out. But one thing in particular that I am looking forward to seeing is definitely the first words from the child. Basically, to give some context to this, the Demon King that took the child under his wing has to protect her day and night from other demons that want to devour her very essence, because she is a very gifted magic user. Now, in this world, everybody has magic, but humans in general have a lot more, and this kid in general has a lot more than the average person. She is special, so to speak. And so, a lot of these demons, they instantly see the aura radiating off of the child, and they want to devour her because of just how much magic she has. But because of this, they are so blinded by their hunger and greed that they don't even realize that the person holding the child is the Demon King. And upon finding out that, it is the Demon King, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, what are you doing and all that? And the Demon King doesn't even care, he doesn't want to listen, he just says, die. And so it resulted in this happening multiple times over and over again, which you could see here with the 13th encounter, and it keeps going on, but because of how often he says this, it results in the child saying die as her first words, which is hilarious, because usually when it comes to, the first words from a child, usually it's because of what they've been in, the environment that they've been in for a very long time, and what they continuously have had to hear. For instance, usually it might be mama, it might be dada, or daddy, mom, whatever, but no, you literally have the child just straight up say die as their first word, which really just goes to show that the parenting from the Demon King himself is not working out as good as it possibly should. Obviously, he's new to parenting, he's not perfect by any means, he's a Demon King, okay? He burns down villages just because he wants to, so to speak. So, thinking about that situation makes sense why the first words from a kid would be this. However, this is a perfect segue to really talk about the essence of the story of Raising Hell. So, if there's something very clear that the actual webcomic has introduced with these chapters with its new release, it really wants to paint the fact that the kid is not a goody-goody two-shoes. She has been raised by a Demon King, and because of being raised by a Demon King, even if he's very sweet and kind to her, it does not change the fact that she has had her reality warped. For instance, her daddy turning into something very scary, burning down a village itself, it is necessarily not going to bug her because she thinks that is normal. That is very normal to her because that is her upbringing. And it shows that she is not completely good-natured. And I also like the fact that the Demon King himself, despite obviously being domesticated to a degree by his daughter now, he is not necessarily good either. He still will burn down villages and hunt people down and all that, and I like stories like this. I like stories that don't necessarily have just good characters. I like to follow villains. I think following villainous characters or characters that are not necessarily just completely righteous is pretty fascinating to see kind of what they will do to deal with certain situations, but also when a situation is added in, for instance, let's say a hero, and seeing how the villainous characters handle that said hero, because common logic dictates within stories with heroes and villains, demons and humans and all that, that the heroes should win. But obviously when you're following a main character that, is evil, that doesn't necessarily mean that the cliche is always going to be there, that the heroes are actually going to win. So, like I said, I love the origin of the story. It's very fascinating. It caught my attention, and the more I read this series, the more I look deeper into it, and I analyze the artwork, and I read the canvas to comparing it to these new chapters that came out, the re-release, so to speak, of the series, the more I'm like, I'm so glad that this is getting popular. I'm so glad it got popular, for we can actually see this series just expanded upon. The beginning expanded upon as well. If you are interested in reading this, I highly recommend you to click the link down below in the description. You can click on it. It's completely free. There is no paywall to read the series whatsoever. You can read all the chapters and all that there completely free on the site. But I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. I enjoyed this series. I'm probably going to do more videos on Raising Hell in the future, because this is not the last time I'm going to be talking about it. This is really good. I really like this series a lot. But thank you so much, everyone. May you all have a blessed and wonderful day. Once again, click on that link if you want to read it for yourself. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you want more of my content to appear in your feed. And with that, Chibi out.